To understand Porsche, you have to look at a bunch of different things. First, the founder's background. The founder, Ferdinand Porsche, wasn't actually German. So is he Austrian? Yes and no. You can't really say he's from Eastern Europe either. Let's just say he was from some little corner of Central Europe. This is a key point. Porsche as a company doesn't have a deep sense of German nationalism, and the family never felt a strong loyalty to the country. Next, the Porsche family. Since the descendants of the Porsche family are so involved in the business, you can't really study the company without studying the family itself. From here on, we'll be talking less about Porsche and more about the Porsches. After that, the Porsche ownership. Now let's look at the ownership structure. Volkswagen, Porsche, Germany, and Porsche Austria. Confusing, right? To make things easier, we'll need some shorthand for the family. Let's call the original Ferdinand Porsche, the genius designer and racer, original Porsche. You know how in Europe, descendants often get the same name as a famous ancestor. Like with the two Johann Strausses, it gets pretty confusing. Original Porsche had one son and one daughter. We'll call his daughter Porsche and his son Porsche. The son's son is grandson Porsche, and the daughter's son is maternal grandson Porsche. Anyway, all the famous ones in the family are named Ferdinand, which makes it incredibly confusing. Ferry Porsche is also just a nickname. His real name is Ferdinand Porsche. And finally, a key distinction. Strictly speaking, Porsche isn't an automaker. It's a design firm. This means they held a ton of patents for all kinds of designs and technologies. When a company uses their design, they get paid royalties. For example, Volkswagen used original Porsche's designs for the Beetle. So every time a Beetle sold, the Porsche family got a royalty, sometimes in cash, sometimes in shares. That's why, up until around World War II, both VW and Porsche were basically owned by original Porsche. The Beetle was a huge success after the war, so Porsche became the de facto owner of Volkswagen. But then, daughter Porsche sold off her VW shares, and son Porsche had his shares seized by the Allies. For a while, the family lost its controlling stake in Volkswagen. The tradition was to give the bulk of the inheritance to the eldest son, but original Porsche split it 50-50 with his daughter. Why? Because she was incredibly sharp. When Germany lost the war, they lost everything. But the clever daughter Porsche had already moved the Porsche design office to Austria, saving it from being seized. Of course, the family's VW shares were still taken. As for Volkswagen, Porsche Germany, Porsche Austria, the Porsche Germany part refers to the office that the company, which had fled to Austria, later opened as a branch office back in Germany. In other words, Porsche Austria was the original design firm, and Porsche Germany was just the local factory and branch office. The ownership got all tangled up later on, but that's how it started. When original Porsche died, he gave the German shares to son Porsche and the Austrian shares to daughter Porsche. He gave her half, not just because she was the older sibling and smart, but also because after the war, when he and son Porsche were unfairly arrested as war criminals and thrown in jail, it was daughter Porsche, with her brilliant mind, who got them out. Stay tuned for part 2 of the Porsche story. It's going to be exciting. I'll have it up soon. Bye.